Perfect parts, you say? This just happened earlier today, so I figured I'd share it with everyone. It may get a little technical/hard to understand for folks outside manufacturing, so I will clarify if anyone has questions or update the post with better wording. This might get long-winded, TLDR at the end for the impatient. A bit of backstory is needed here for understanding the scenario. I work in a robotic CNC cell. I make stuff out of aluminum with robots and machines, that works on a 2x 10-hour per day schedule. When I come in, the robots have run lights out, unattended, for 2 hours and they do the same after I leave. Since no one is around to pass off any messages when I arrive, we leave notes for the other shift and kind of play the telephone game. My co-worker, Patrick, and I run up to 7 machines at once, depending on currently running jobs and the workload. A few weeks ago, I got word that our company got some massive orders for an American firearm manufacturer, and they wanted the parts done ASAP, if not sooner. Classic election year. I had run these parts a couple of years ago and remembered how much of a pain in the ass they were. Now, when we started production on these AR-15 handguards, we had already been running first operation parts for another company within the corporate umbrella for years. Then with parts, we were making the precursor parts, then finishing the machining process in-house, too. Here is where the MC comes into place. I had been cleaning up/deburring the parts in the manner of which I was accustomed, and Patrick was likewise helping after I showed him what to do. One day, the head of the project, Janice, came down to talk about the parts, with a massive revised standard to deburr and review the handguards. Our workload basically doubled. One of the changes said to keep the machine going at all times and that any parts we couldn't get to would be stacked on a pallet for someone to get to later. Another said that the surface finish needed to be perfect and defect-free. Now enter the shit show. We get slammed with all kinds of these handguard orders, huge size orders and multiple different length parts, and it's wildly apparent we can't keep up. Parts are filling up the pallets and every day is a fustercluck. On top of that, parts were being found left and right that apparently were not up to the customer's ludicrously high standards. The situation was not good. Janice left several notes about parts being found with burrs and surface defects. At this point, I'm getting annoyed. For context, this is what all went into the process. Done on one machine, a second op, much lengthier in runtime, on another, then a several minute long, very picky deburring process, tumbling parts in ceramic media for 20 minutes, then a thorough inspection before initialing the part in Sharpie, before bagging and boxing. I went over some of the day and weekend shift parts and found a super sloppy bunch of parts, and was essentially getting scolded frequently for their lazy attempts at cleaning up the parts. I decided then and there that I would, in fact, make perfect parts, the process be damned. Every day for the last 2 weeks, I poured over the part inspection with the keen eye and intensity of a bald eagle hunting for prey. Any and every bit of that part got buffed out with Scotch-Brite/filed down/brushed to absolute perfection. Defects as small and pissant as these were painstakingly blended. Naturally, this took a ton of time. Some parts took upwards of 20 minutes apiece. Parts started piling up to the point that Janice came around to figure out what was going on as well as one-on-one inspect our parts. It turns out, day shift wasn't even bothering to deburr parts and just piled them up, and I was being too good at inspecting, after being called a devious little shit for my antics and drawing a laugh. Janice backed off some of the grueling inspection, so it sped us back up a bit to keeping up. So, TLDR, after clogging up the system completely and doing too well of a job, we have a new system in place to get parts done.